Inspire, innovate, ignite. Conversations that count. Be inspired by expert panelists who share innovative, self-empowerment tips that will enrich your life.
Inspire, innovate, ignite conversations that count. So excited about today's discussion where we're going to be talking about being enough and stepping into your power. There's a journey that most of us go through to feel enough, and it's a big journey. Even though you can be as confident as, and people might think that you're super confident, we still usually go through this "are we enough" journey. And this can create these feelings of inadequacies, feeling less than. You might compare yourself to others. And this takes on like a whole persona in your life. And it can last for a long time unless you become aware of it. So what would your world look like if you stopped comparing yourself to an idea that others or belief systems that others have adopted for you? And how do you keep from sliding back into the habit where you've lived in that mindset for your whole life? Being in that comfortable, familiar yet uncomfortable, familiar place of not being enough. So we would love to invite you all listening, watching to this conversation. And we're going to invite on today's panelists who are going to be talking about this topic. First of all, we have Jennifer Regular. Jennifer is a soul-centered entrepreneur who's an empowerment coach guiding purpose-driven entrepreneurs to focus on the difference that they want to make in an alignment with their soul calling, while effectively managing their time and energy to prevent overwhelm. She's also the author of Embrace Your Power, a healing journey of self-discovery, and the host of the Wisdom Speakers and Seekers podcast and Wise Women Wednesdays on YouTube. And we have Joanne Irwin. Joanne works with ambitious women living in overwhelm or anxiety who have big dreams and want to achieve success through work-life balance, but they're burned out and continually struggle to achieve their ultimate outcomes. She's the creator of Empower You and Finding You Time, programs that teach women how to harness their manifestation power to master their life and live from a balanced, abundant, peaceful place, achieving all the desires, goals, and dreams they have with ease. And then we have Chris Papias. I hope I said that. In 2003, Chris was living what would many call a good life. She was in her 10th year of her career as a police officer, and as anyone was concerned, she was successful. And then there was a serious car crash that woke her up, and she realized that while she had all the trappings of success, her life was unsuccessful and boring, and that she was a people pleaser who no longer knew who she was or what she wanted in life. And in that moment, she promised herself that things would change and she would do whatever it took to create a life for herself that had meaning and purpose. So it took Chris several years of searching to discover the secret of creating the life that she longed for, and a few more to create a life in which she does that she wants. And when she wants to say no, she does. And she gets to rest when she wants, and it's all guilt-free. As a mindset coach, Chris's mission is to share what she's learned with other women who are tired of being people pleasers, tired of feeling stuck and uncertain as they look into the future, and who are ready to take action now and create a life they love. And we have Vanessa Ray. Vanessa is a skilled holistic practitioner and master coach trained for multiple decades in numerous modalities. Her lifelong lust for personal and spiritual development has led her on a uniquely incredible path that includes well-rounded repertoire of extraordinary trainings and personal experiences. Everything from studying yoga in an ashram, energy medicine in Hawaii, numerous leadership and development programs through Landmark, and certification as a counselor and a coach through the Ford Institute for Integrative Studies. This year, she became a bereavement doula, holding deep space for families in loss. Vanessa had her own business for over 15. She's had her own business for over 15 years, and she cares to serve the population of women and girls, and most focus on their healing body image issues, their relationship to food, and aids them in losing weight naturally and permanently by way of a deeply spiritual process. Vanessa Ray has most recently created Miracle Minded Weight Loss, and through her training with Marianne Williamson and her master certification as a Miracle Minded coach, she's created an innovative digital program and a workbook companion to greatly enhance her coaching practice, serving women to come home to herself in the body that she feels right in. And I'm Lisa DePampoulos, and I show women, mainly light leaders, who are trying to connect marketing dots that don't resonate with the usual marketing tactics, how to easily enroll more clients and get in front of the right audience, gain clarity and direction, and become a frequency match for success. So that's enough about me, and welcome everyone to this panel discussion. So excited. And what I would love to start with is just, we all have this story of the time when this not-enoughness was something that we really had to deal with, that was maybe in our face. And I would love to hear what that story was when you had to deal with that not-enoughness and what you did to overcome it, because I really think that this will help the listeners as we start off. Joanne, why don't we start with you? Going to go from side to side here.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me again. It's so great having these discussions, and hello to the other panelists I haven't met before. Yeah, so interesting question, because I feel like there's still times when I don't feel like I'm enough. And it's an innate thing in me that started from a very young age, and I'm still working on those scars, if you want to call it that. And because I guess the catalyst was when something big happened in my life. I was left as a single mum of 4 children when I was 6 months pregnant. And I think at that moment, I thought, I have to do something about my life. I have to change it. How am I going to survive? How am I going to bring up these beautiful beings on my own if I'm not in a good place? And I was already connected to my spiritual path and working with some people in that area. But I really threw myself into personal and spiritual development, seeking answers like, how can I do this better? Along the way, things will obviously come up about not being good enough, and doubt and fear and shame and all those parts of ourselves that are always going to be there. I think it's a lifetime of working with them, not against them, and really embracing those parts and finding the gifts in that, and how you can dissolve it healthily from a place of just being and just accepting that we are always going to be looked after, we're always going to be cared for, we're always going to be guided, and having that connection to something, whether it be God, universe, whatever you connect with, spirit, your guides, find something that you can feel that you're being held in and with to support you in those times. Because that wasn't the first catalyst. There was many times, like over my life on that journey of being a single parent or homeless, there was all sorts of stuff, but I had to find a way to rise. And that's where I connected to my own spiritual self through the spiritual guidance that I was seeking and asking those questions for. So yeah, I feel that's what came to me when you mentioned this part, and always knowing that you are being supported and guided. And yeah, so I
think that's great, because for most of us, that the first thing starts probably before we even can remember. And what creates who we are today creates us as a lot of us people pleaser, recovering people pleasers, taking on the weight of the world, people, all these traits that happens when you don't feel like you're enough. But I love what you said about working with them, because if we didn't, because it's a journey, and the trauma creates us to want to be better, always wanting to be better and be enough and be even better than enough. But that's the journey of becoming all that we can be too. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you, Jo.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Vanessa.
Sure. Hi. Great question. And I loved what you said, Joanne. I could relate to a lot of it. I think for me, I think about really the mindset, like from a certain mindset, I am never enough. It's never enough. I never did enough in a day. I'm never profound enough. I'm never like, and in another mindset, which is the one I believe that's based in true reality, which is who we are, is we're always enough. And my kind of quick story to more of what you asked about is I bottomed out in not-enoughness. And I had an eating disorder, which is so much about not being enough, not doing it right, not being, and I had a lot of other things too, which stemmed from a not-enoughness. And at some point, I realized from this mindset, I'm actually never going to be enough. Like it is not a thing you actually quench from that state, from that egoic state. A lot of money's never enough money. A lot of beauty's never enough beauty. But the flip side of that was like the relieving truth, which is we're born enough. And even the times that we don't, or the times that I didn't feel enough, didn't make me actually not enough. It was just my mindset that was saying this isn't enough. So while I was bulimic, I was still enough. I wasn't aware of the experience of my enoughness. And I can give a million other examples. I'm sure everyone can. But so for me, it just really got clear. Oh, from this place, I'll never be enough. But I'm actually always enough. And my enoughness and everyone else's enoughness isn't actually dependent on the thing I do or the thing I don't do or the thing I achieve or that comparison. And we can just go all day comparing and measuring and scoring and grading and competing. And yeah, that's just really a losing game for everyone, because even if you win, you're going to lose tomorrow. There's always, Google it, there's someone doing it better. So really, when I realized I'm going to be in hell if I stay in this world, I will suffer horribly for my entire life. And I think that over time, they're just turned into this, I'm going to surrender into seeing it a different way, which is my enoughness, if I approach it from that place.
I love that. It's like talking about that ego death experience, right? That's the journey, is the ego death and accepting that we are who we are. Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to go ahead and send it on over to you, Jennifer, and I'm going to go off camera for just one moment.
All right, thank you. Something that you said, Vanessa, about being born enough. For me, it took so many years to realize that, because it was actually being born that didn't feel good enough. Because my mother had me much later in life. She actually thought she was going through menopause, so didn't think anything of it when she wasn't getting her periods anymore, and found out 6 months into it that she was having me. And the only solace that she had from that was, after having 3 girls and raising them, that she might have a boy. And of course, I didn't come out that way. So right off the bat, I wasn't good enough, or so I thought. And luckily, many years later, when I actually spoke to my mom about that, because I had heard about this story from my sister, when I actually told her and was questioning my beliefs around that and what I was thinking, I had a gift of being able to resolve that with her before she died. And I was really lucky to do that. So I think testing our beliefs and our perceptions is really important, and not taking anything and everything that we learn from others as truth, but to actually explore that and test out the reality of that. And like I said, it took many years beyond that, and not feeling enough, always coming up short. Literally, I don't even reach 5 feet. I was made fun of a lot for my height because I wasn't tall enough. I actually had someone come to me once when I was at a trade show and I was selling products at the time. She said, "Oh, you looked a lot taller in your picture." And the picture was only head up, but she had this image that I was taller. So no matter what I had inspired her from, the reason she came to the table in the first place, but it was distorted by this perception, this belief of how we're received by others based on appearance even. When so many years that people still to this day think I'm half the age I actually am, which I now take as a blessing, but I, for years, felt offended by because it didn't feel like I was good enough or taken seriously enough or all kinds of enoughness. And it was very isolating, very alienating to come up short in social situations as well, not feeling enough in my family or around my peers, or always reaching out with that ego grasping for perfectionism and trying to do everything right to be accepted and never feeling like enough, so much so that there were times in my life where I didn't feel like I was good enough for this life. And so it really took a lot of inner work and soul care and connecting with my true essence and recognizing, accepting myself as a spiritual being and claiming that spiritual sovereignty that helped me to embrace this life and embrace who I was and what I was put on this earth to do and become who I came here to be, despite outward appearances, despite limiting beliefs, to be able to set forth new ways of being in this world, to be enough and to really step into that power and claiming that spiritual sovereignty that, yes, as you said, we were born enough, and to be able to leverage everything we came into this world with.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I love that. Distorted perceptions from other people. We really have to learn how to tune in to our own truth and not listen. I call it sourcing, self-sourcing, or sourcing from within, not needing the outside validation. But it takes a lot because that's how we were brought up. That's how we were raised to think. That's what our life has shown us, is you get outside validation and other people have the authority over you. And that's just so not true. So I love that you bring up sovereignty and just the distorted perceptions that other people lay on you or that you believe from them that are not true, and really tapping into your own truth. Thank you, Jennifer. It's beautiful. Yeah. Chris, I'd love to hear from you.
Listening to the other panelists, it strikes me that we are all over the world. That's my understanding. Some in Australia, I'm in Canada, and yet we've all experienced it no matter where we come from. We were born enough, we were born perfect in someone's eyes, right? If we're the norm. And layer by layer, we were taught to ignore that perfection and that enoughness. And we were taught that we were not enough. And I have stories, we all have stories, and I've had my traumas, and I really believed I was not enough. And at the age of 38, into my not enoughness, as a female, I go into law enforcement where I'm the third female on the department that I joined. And I got to tell you, not enoughness becomes a real issue because I had come from social work where it was very sort of soft skills and what have you. And I entered a culture where certain qualities were revered. We're the biggest, we're the best. And the comparison, we're always compared. That's what the source of not enoughness is, comparison, where I could never meet that image of the cop's cop in the culture that I was in. And I bought into that. And it's not that the people I was working with were necessarily doing anything towards me. That's not what the issue was. The issue was being surrounded by people who had a certain perspective on what enoughness, on how they measured enoughness. I'm the one who walked into the sandbox, right? And in order to overcome that feeling of not enoughness, I became somebody I really didn't like. I totally forgot who I was. I forgot my purpose. I lost my way. And in 2003, I had a huge wake-up call where I had a near-death experience, and all of a sudden, that's what it took to wake me up and tap into what I believe we all have, which is inner strength and wisdom. We all have it. Women especially ignore it, right? Women's intuition, oh, please, that's so silly. No, that's our inner being, our inner knowing, our inner wisdom, our inner strength. We all have it. And to me, my wake-up call, that car crash, that incident where I was injured and all the rest of it, was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it made me own the fact that I ignored everything that was good and in alignment with the purpose that I had, the giving, the serving. I had ignored that, and I had in fact extinguished it. I worked really hard to ignore it. And that started the journey to claim it again, to reconnect with what I believe is the source of our power, which is stepping into your power. The topic, right, is our power comes from knowing our purpose, which is simply sharing our unique gifts with the world. It's nothing huge, it's nothing earth-shattering. And then to tap into that wisdom and that strength to step forth in that purpose, I believe that's the power of our strength. And the moment I slip into comparison mode, I start going down that slippery slope of not enoughness. But at least I have the awareness now to say, wait a minute, right? We've been down this road. We don't want this road, and just stop it. Just stop.
I love, yeah. And it's comparison others, and it's comparison to who you are, who you've been, who you want to be, who you think it's like all these different, like you talk about the layers of comparison. And I love that you talk about losing your way and coming back into alignment with who you're here to be, because I think that is the journey. That is the journey that we're here for. We choose our journey, we choose our lessons, we choose the tough things that fall into our life, and so that we can go through and remember, so we can go through them and have those little wake-up calls and get back into alignment. So what I would love to hear, and Chris, you can start out if you maybe give a tip to our listeners on if they're feeling lost, how do they get back into alignment to step into their power? How do they get back into feeling enough? And so I would love to hear a tip from each of you on this.
I think the problem is we don't know the problem, right? And the problem we're not aware of is all these scripts that we have and all these beliefs, these little gremlins that are talking to us. And for me, what my tip would be is become aware of the scripts that you're living your life by. And those are the scripts that, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? What is it? What's the belief that is governing me in this moment? For example, when I found myself at work and I would feel really I was having a really struggling moment, if I had just stopped and said to myself, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? I'm feeling it because I should be this big, tough, muscular, this cop's cop, this image, and I don't meet up. Okay, then I could say, wait a minute, is that really the image that I have to be? Is it true that I have to be that image? And if it's not true, then that's a story I'm telling myself. And the fact is, most of these stories that we're telling ourselves are stories that we learned by the time we're 6 and 7, for sure. And they were probably from the day we took our first breath. The layers start getting laid down. And until we become aware of the stories we're telling ourselves, we're basically allowing a 6-year-old to drive the car. Because the beliefs and the worldview that's guiding us through life is the worldview of a 6-year-old, if not earlier. And we need to take the keys back from the kid. And the first way to do that is to just become aware of what are the beliefs that are guiding my decision making. And are those beliefs true? Where did I hear it from? Is it an opinion? Is it truth? And for the most part, we'll find evidence in our past that shows those beliefs to be untrue.
And the best way, I think, it's powerful when you can stop yourself, and it's super powerful to have a group or a community of friends or a relationship that you fully trust in to see you and to question those stories, because a lot of the times they're unconscious, and they're unconscious patterns that keep going around and around. You can be wanting to be as aware as you want to be, and unless somebody points it out, you may not become aware. So it's always helpful to have a community of people that, or friends, or somebody that can be a reflection for you, that you feel safe in a safe space that can point that out. I think that's like super powerful. So thank you.
I think that's absolutely powerful. And unfortunately, when I started my journey, I had the belief that asking for help is a sign of weakness.
Sure.
And and if you happen to be so inclined, if you're not yet at a place where you have a safe person, write down your thoughts. Because if every time you have a moment where you're feeling, oh, I'm not good enough, and you write down what's happening, how do I feel, and just journal about it, you'll see patterns. Even though we have blinkers on, you will see patterns.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Journaling is the place to start, because if you go into a relationship and you're not ready, you're just going to be triggered all over the place. Journaling is a great way. Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. Thank you. Stories are so important. Jennifer, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, sure. I'm thinking of the idea of being lost. What is that? Lost is when you're too far away, you're way off course, become disconnected. And sometimes that means we ask for directions. Sometimes we ask for help to get back to where we thought we were going. But it's also returning back home and coming back within when we're too far out there and we're absorbed in everything going on out there. It's really important and vital. It's actually essential that we come back home, inside, into our heart, to return within. And we're right here. No matter where you are out there, we can always find ourselves in here. So even if we've strayed too far away from home, we can still put our hands on our heart and hold space for ourselves, embrace ourselves, and just calm our breath and feel our feet on the ground and land there, arriving in that moment into our heart. When a parent loses their child out in the mall, they're in a panic, and then they find the child, and the child might be exploring for a while, just doing their thing, not realizing they're actually lost until maybe they want to go tell their parents something and then realize they're not there, and then start crying and panicking and wondering what to do. And when they get reunited, the parent might yell or something, but mostly they're just relieved to see each other again. And then they embrace and they hold each other tightly. And sometimes we need that. We need to be held. And if you have a loved one that can do that for you, wonderful. And if you don't, then you can do that for yourself. Just put your arms around you and consciously connect with yourself. And if you believe in a higher power, then absorb that connection. Reach out and pray and meditate and ask for guidance. Ask for help from your higher sources. Ask for direction from someone that you trust and can use discernment with to guide you in the right way, whether it's spiritual direction or a coach or someone else that you trust and know that can support you and hold space for you as you come back into your center, as you recenter yourself and recalibrate, giving yourself time to recalibrate and come back into balance and to restore your sense of yourself, because you do need to recover yourself to be yourself. And so it's really important to come back.
I love that so much. It's been self-sourcing has been my motto for the last, I don't know, during these eclipse seasons. This whole energetic thing that's been going on the last couple months. And just personally for me, going into a dark space of trying to just not having any sugar, just being on this, not filling myself up with anything but my own self. And it's hard. It's uncomfortable. And I've needed those body somatic movements, the rocking and the hugging and self-sourcing to come home to myself, to know that I'm the only, nobody's going to save me. I'm the only one here. And when you can connect and get that big cosmic hug, oh my gosh, it's a lifesaver. It really is a lifesaver in dark times. So I love that you brought all that up. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, these are all great. So I guess what's coming to me, imagining being lost mentally or lost in an emotional despair, where I know myself with not enoughness, I had to borrow, almost like a surrogate, borrow the love that I have for something else to extend it to myself. So like with a lot of the people that I work with, and one of the things I would love to have healed in the world is when we're having a hard time extending that compassion to ourselves. We're having a hard time, like some of us, and myself in the past especially, would beat myself up instead. That wasn't enough. Let me try harder, work harder, put myself down, be nasty, be mean. And I see it even like culturally, it's just like self-deprecation is some kind of casual joke where we get to just put ourselves down as a way of connecting. And my tip is, when you're really ready to come home to yourself and you're having a hard time accepting your enoughness or seeing it, see what does the divine see you as? So if I, let's say, am like, just take a day out of my life from 20 years ago, not enough, I messed something up, I'm not attractive enough, I like all this stuff. That's how I was currently seeing myself. But how does God see me? And really imagine that and wait for that answer. How does the divine see me? I know the answer, and was 180 degrees than how I was seeing myself. And borrowing that, let me see through those eyes of grace. Let me give myself that grace, that even though I'm not experiencing myself that way in this moment, what would the divine say? What does the divine think? Because I am that creation. So even if I'm having a moment of tearing myself apart and I can't really feel like I can relate to that self-love from that place of self-loathing, I couldn't often get there. I would have to use the divine's love for me. And I think a huge tip, and I do it all the time with my daughter, finding something or someone that you love so much and extending that much love to yourself. So it's very easy for me to unconditionally love my daughter. I don't unconditionally love her every behavior. I don't unconditionally love, like, those things there's conditions in our home, right? Her worth and lovability is never a question to me. So when I imagine percent the degree that I love her, and extending that forgiveness, that compassion, that adoration, that worth to myself, I say it's like a surrogate. If you love your dog to bits, you love your partner to bits, you love the ocean to bits, you love something so much, that thing is not any better than you and not any worse than you. So borrowing that, what I call the eyes of the divine, to see yourself in that way. And another thing that I think in the spiritual realm, we really are all one. We really are the same in that reality. And so if I'm saying I'm not enough, I'm really saying you're all not enough. I'm really saying my daughter's not enough. I'm really saying something else isn't enough. And so instead of thinking like, oh, I'm just putting myself down, it's no, you're putting everything down, or you're putting nothing down. So when I started thinking, oh, my self-harming thoughts are actually harming, they're not helping the world. Me being depressed and thinking I'm not good enough is another little dim spot in the world. It's another little dim spot that dishonors, in my opinion, it dishonors everything. So loving myself and thinking I'm good enough, or finding yourself, is not a selfish act. It honors all women. It honors all mothers. It honors all children. It honors all the things that you love. So that's my tip.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that, to think more than of just your own self, because we are a collective consciousness what we think matters in the big picture.
And what we don't heal, we are passing down in one way or another. We're passing it around, we're passing it to other generations. Like, even if there's a moment, and there are, where I'm like, oh, I'm still not good enough. But you know what? Bigger and more important than that fleeting thought is, I want my daughter to always know she's good enough. So who do I have to become so that she can know that and watch me experiencing myself in that way?
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. And having the authenticity to talk into that with her. That's beautiful.
Wow. What more can I say? You ladies have nailed it really, and totally resonate with it. And but Chris, finding the scripts that drive us. So I guess in the sense of that being in, what I guess is a part of it is that we have to make the time to find the scripts in that. So my biggest tip from all of this would be to make the time. And when I'm working with women, they have a planner where they include themselves into that. So they then make the space to take that time to really journal or question things or just feel, where am I at? And asking questions, how do I feel in this moment? How do I feel right now? And making that time and knowing that all it really matters is you. Because as Vanessa says, you're an example around you. And until you become who you want to be in that example, then you're not good to anybody in a sense. Okay. So I guess coming from a place of knowing that I want to do this work, I want to do this inner work, Jennifer, this inner work that's going to make the change, it's going to sustainable, could be slow, it doesn't really matter. We can't make change often in a moment. There's going to be a new level, as I could say, a new level, a new devil, but making time to, when that comes up for you, you create space in your day. I'm talking daily here. I'm not talking like every now and then, but having a dedicated time where you can sit either in the morning or at the end of the day, where you just write it out, how your day was, how you felt, what came up for you that day. So you can process it and really be in your power, be in your womb space. For women and men, actually they have this area as well, and just sit with it and process it and really honor that process, because the healing starts there within you. And awareness, I think someone mentioned that awareness piece. When you're aware, that's the first step, right? That's the first step to healing. So being aware of what's coming up for you and of your stepping into your power, right? Every moment. Am I stepping into my power? Am I being the best? Something that came up for me actually this morning, which was really interesting and powerful when we're talking about questioning our beliefs. And I was doing a process on my meditation, and what came up was something around a belief that I believe that the more I give unconditionally, the more I receive. And it almost is contradictory to where I'm at, but where I want to be. So I immediately went, oh, this is interesting, because I'm a giver. I give, and I give a lot for nothing. And it's fine. I love it. I feel like I'm coming from a place of not receiving, though, when I'm giving so much. So I've turned that into, I am now, the more I receive, the more I can give unconditionally. And that was like, whoa, okay. And now that's a more empowering place to be, in that if you're an empath, or a lot of us would feel this, but I felt, wow, that was huge. Like realizing that I've been carrying that. The more I give, the more I receive. Happy days. But what's it giving me? Not really what I need to receive. And coming back with making the space, affirming I am enough on a daily basis, like rewiring. And my first lot of work when I was on my journey was Louise L. Hayes stuff. And I just threw myself in there. And this comes to another point too. This I am not good enough. I realized also a few months back, I was doing so much work on myself for the last 30 years. And I had this epiphany. I'm doing all this work because I don't believe I'm good enough. Whoa, how much work do I really need to do to prove to myself that I am enough? And that was a big one as well. Coming from a place of doing enough to get what you need, not continually throwing yourself into all this body of works because you're trying to become better, but you're already better. Like, I'm already better. I've done the work. So I don't need to prove anything to myself or anybody. And so, yeah, just there's that fine line of doing the work and doing the work.
Yes, I love that you brought that up, because it's true. There's so many, it's like this whole cavern of fixing and finding out what else is broken. And that's not how you get out of it. That's how you go deeper into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
it's almost like you're looking for it. You're looking for it.
Yeah.
It's not really there. It's already fixed in a sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just more to give you to process.
Yes.
But I love what you brought up about space and your insight about overgiving and receiving, and how you flipped that around, because that goes back to space. And I think many people who are not feeling enough, and I think many of you mentioned this, are wanting to do more, to accomplish more, to be more. And that's just filling up the space. That's filling up whatever space is left. So you have no space to create. You have no space to do anything with, because it's completely filled up. And so you're saturated. You're unable to process. You're unable to look at the scripts. You don't feel worthy of taking the time to journal and having that space for yourself, because you want to do more and be more and accomplish more and be more productive and all these things. And it's just so backwards. So thank you for bringing up space. I think space is so important, and it allows us to create more abundance and create more space to receive more and give more. So thank you for bringing that up. We have about 15 minutes left, so I would love to hear from each of you just about a little bit about what you do and what offer you have tonight for the listeners. And just to invite anybody who's listening, if you have any comments, please let us know so that we can answer your questions while the panelists are here live. And meanwhile, we'll just go ahead and, Joanne, do you want to start and just go ahead and talk about what you do and what you offer, and then you can put your information in the chat box.
Sure. Okay. I do, as you mentioned I work with emotional healing, and I use a lot of different modalities. It's not really a fixed thing that I do. I work with the individual to tap into their own unique and innate gifts and heal the emotions that surround that. We look at a lot of different parts in that process. I work with frequencies as well, which is a new thing I've added to my toolkit, which has been phenomenal for supporting my clients even more. What have I got to offer? Oh, there was something I meant to mention too in the tips, is that when I'm feeling stuck and not in my power, and I want to bring my joy back, is I go move my body. And I feel like this is something that's really important to know, is getting out in nature, going for a run or a walk, or dancing around the lounge room if you've got children, whatever it is, to release from your physical being, because a lot of us, this stuckness is in the body. That was something I felt was really important to know, because it can actually instantly break what we call your state and get you back into your body and breathe. Okay, so with that, I want to offer two things. I have the mention of the finding the planner, the Finding You Time Planner is a really fantastic resource and tool. I would love to offer that to the community to use, to start embedding their own self into their day and doing the work and really making space for that. And also the frequencies I'm talking about would be another offer that would be a intro offer of a paid offer, but it's a 45-minute session where we scan your body. You don't have to be with me. It works as a resonance. There's a sensor inside that we're all energy, right? So we can pick up on the energy of the person and where you're at, and help to release any of the emotional stuff that you're holding on to, with a 5-day support with that. So if anyone's interested in having a session around that, I would be happy to offer that to the community at a very reasonable rate at $120 Australian for 45 minutes plus 5-day support with that.
Awesome. Yeah. Joanne, you're going to put your information in the chat, and then that's going to be for everybody listening. It's going to be either below the video or somewhere where you'll find it, somewhere easily accessible as for everybody too. Jennifer.
Hello. Yes, I help people align their path and purpose by really tapping into their deeper passion. And the way that I see passion, when you break up the word, is pass I on. And that I is your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. So I help people direct the life that they're meant to live by tapping into that passion, what they're here to pass on in this lifetime, and really connecting with soul. And so my offering is a soul care guide, so that you can find solace in everyday life and stay connected with who you came here to be and do what you came here to do. And so they call me the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path, and I'll share my website and that free guide for everyone that's here to receive it. Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Love that. Thank you. Chris.
So I am a mindset coach, and I help midlife women who are sick and tired of being people pleasers learn how to be of service to others without compromising themselves, doing it not at their expense. And I have a 3-step process that I take my clients through, and the steps are basically creating a vision of what you want, discovering and debunking the limiting beliefs. And the 3rd step is to take action, because if you're not willing to take action, your vision remains a dream. So action has to be the 3rd step. And I do have a guide that outlines the process. Do we need to put it in the chat? Now, I'll tell you, I'm not at home. I don't have everything at my fingertips. Can it be added to the comment section later on? Okay, because I will give you the guide. I just don't have it at my fingertips right now.
Perfect. We'll make sure that happens. Great. Awesome. Sounds good. Vanessa.
Yeah, thanks. So I specialize in having women and girls guided back into their body in a really comfortable, confident way. So I use a spiritual and holistic process. Even though that's the thing, even though we're inhabiting this body, I don't believe we are a body or just a body for sure. So the spiritual, more subtle, emotional, mental, energetic approach to body issues, whether your issue is really just in your mind about uncomfortable in your body, or you do want to lose weight or just have a different experience in your body, my job is to have women and girls feel at home in their bodies. So I call it the divine body align. And it's about aligning to yourself, to your power, to your highest self, and having that be expressed, having your body transform to that, not approaching it from the outside in and controlling and confining and restricting and coming from that approach, but really from the inside out. What is it like to embody yourself with power and let your body follow? So my business is the Divine Body Align, and I'm offering, it's a free consultation. So it can be about what I just talked about, or it can be about something else you might have heard me say today that you want to chat about. I do free consultation, and I do have a special offer, and that is I've been doing one-off. I normally teach a big program, but I do have a one-off offering, and that is for an inner vision session. I call them in visions. It's an inner guided by me, but you're going into your own wisdom. It's an inner vision quest. So they're about 2-hour sessions. They're pretty intense and deep. And it's a shamanic journey to really see and create the vision of you that you want to live into, and how to stabilize that energy so that you can begin creating that.
Beautiful. And you'll enter those into the chat as well.
Yep. There they go. Thank you.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you all for being here. Is there anything else that popped up in the last couple minutes while people were talking that We have another few minutes if anybody wants to share anything. We've got.
Can I just share that I am smarter than I thought, and I found the link, and I'm just popping it
Yay.
into the chat. And it's a free
Okay.
guide of how to stop being a people pleaser.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. And anything else? All right, Trina, did you want, I don't know if Trina's here, I don't know if anybody's here. Okay, if
Yes,
anybody's,
I'm here.
yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about the community or if
Please, look, I think if you want to represent that, Lisa, I'm
Sure.
happy.
Yeah. So we would love to have you join our sacredyou.love community. This community is full of events like this, free events. There's a membership that you can join for just $1, Australian dollars. You can join any of the multiple tribes that we have that are amazing gatherings of men and women. We have a Facebook group. We have just so much going on, so many ways to connect with like-minded people and get your questions answered, be part of a community, be part of a gathering, tribe meetings that go deep into different topics. And so the link for joining and for checking out and learning more will also be in the description above or below, wherever it might be. Yeah, so we'd love to have you check it out. And you can go to our sacredyou.love website and you can look under the featured events for more information on special events like this. And I think that's it. So great to be here. Thank you all for being here, all of the panelists, and thank you listeners and watchers for being here with us. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below the video and we'll be sure to get those answered. Thank you so much.
Thank you.